Hi everyone, this is Bob Perkins with AA-ISP's Inside Sales Studio. We're going to have a great episode this week. I'm so pleased to have Carolyn Betts with us. Carolyn, how are you doing today?
Great, Bob. Thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's warm here in Gold Canyon, Arizona. What's going on in San Francisco?
Same. It's beautiful outside, and yeah, it's no more rain, and heading to Tahoe for the weekend.
That's fantastic. So today's topic is going to be around one of the biggest challenges facing the profession of inside sales, and that is finding talent. In fact, our annual top challenges research for the last 5 years indicated finding talent, hiring, recruiting was at number 1 or number 2 challenge across all industries and all company sizes. So Carolyn's with Betts Recruiting. She's the founder and CEO and has a lot of experience when it comes to recruiting. Carolyn, for the viewers out there that may not be familiar with you or your company, could you give us just a brief background?
Yeah, absolutely. So Betts, I founded the company at the end of 2009 in San Francisco, and over the past 6-7 years, we've grown to service nationwide, San Francisco, Silicon Valley, Austin, Texas, New York. We have offices in all those areas, and then also Dublin and London. And we help companies scale the entire revenue side of their businesses. So all the way from recent grads to VPs of sales and everything in between, and then also on the marketing and operations and sales engineering side as well.
That's fantastic. In fact, we met during Inside Sales World in Dublin, Ireland, the year before. We met one of your associates there with your company. Well, we're going to talk today about some of the challenges and also some solutions around what is our first or second biggest problem. But before we do that, I'd like to get your perspective. I know you work with a lot of companies that are growing rapidly in inside sales and sales development. Just an overall perspective from you on what's happening out there at companies around this growth of inside sales and sales development.
Yeah, I think that a lot of companies are leveraging their inside sales organizations to do a lot of lead generation and some of the earlier on blocking and tackling for the field reps, as well as closing smaller deals. These people are often less expensive, very trainable, and it's a lot easier to manage a group of people when you can see them. And so I think that trend remains. Yeah. And so I've been seeing a lot of that. I've also been seeing this year in 2016, companies being a little bit more mindful on bringing on people and not hiring quite as quickly while they're still scaling out their inside sales organizations. Mm-hmm. Companies are having more involved reference checks, more in-depth interview processes, and doing more of the job at the end of the interview, which I think is great. So then when somebody's coming on board, you understand more of what they're bringing to the table, as opposed to just their resume and what they might have accomplished in a short period in their career.
That's interesting. You made a point there, and I want to drill back into that around they're taking their time. Do you think that a few years ago we grew so fast that we just hired anybody we could and we paid the price? Can you?
Yeah, I've been saying a little bit more. It's no more butts in seats, right? Get the most quality people in the door, and I think the days of the Wall Streets or whatever of, we're going to hire 10 people and the 2 that last are going to be here. The companies are more invested in making sure close to 100% of those people last. And we've also seen our rates of people that don't work out decreasing significantly as well. So I think that the overall attitude in terms of talent is, let's make sure we get the right people on the bus, instead of having a one-time in-person interview that it, offer out, accept, start next week. It's, usually a 3-step process that involves some type of an exercise and a few reference checks. So it's still not a 3-month thing. It can be done in a couple of weeks, but companies are definitely taking their hiring process more seriously to make sure they get the right people instead of spending their time on the back end on performance plans and offboarding and those culture killers that people have recognized more recently.
Yeah, I mean that's so important. In my own career, back when I was hiring a lot of inside salespeople, I was known as, I would put people through the ringer. Sometimes I'd have them in 4 times, and I would do 5 role plays with a panel, and to the point where I was kind of getting the reputation of it's tough, tough to get through some of the interview processes. But the point being is, better to make sure it's a good hire, because it's going to save you cost, time, and money. You mentioned a 3-step process. Could you share with the viewers maybe some tips, some things that they can do in this vetting out of candidates that might help them find better candidates?
Yeah, and I think it's going to vary based on your organization and your hiring goals. If you're hiring one SDR or AE, that's it's going to be very different than hiring 5 or more. And obviously in between as well. So for the basics, just for onesie twosies, is resume screen, phone screen, in-person interview with hiring manager, potentially that person's manager, and also peers, and potentially anyone that they would, if it's an inside-outside model, potentially anyone that they might support in the field. And generally the best practice is to do that all in one day. But there are multiple steps within that time that they're showing up.
Great.
They don't do all with the hiring manager. Obviously, you're not going to drag in all the other people. But as things go well, hiring manager goes, well, great. Let me introduce you to, another rep in your role and, and whatnot. And as those things go well, and then having everybody come together and recap. And then the third step being some type of an exercise where, it depends on what's important to the organization. If it's prospecting into a large Fortune 1000 company, saying, okay, do Oracle. And for our solution, if you're selling into Oracle, who would be the people you'd reach out to? What would be the messaging that you would, and having them do some type of exercise that shows how they would perform on the job, having them come back in and doing it and do that. And then often followed by some reference checks of previous employers, peers, and whatnot. So that's a good best practice if you're hiring 1 or 2 people. One of my favorite things that a lot of our clients have been doing here in the Bay Area that are hiring multiple people to start in classes is a hiring event. And we generally do it after hours, happy hour style, where people will have a beer or soda, and it saves a lot of time taking the phone screen out. And I think a lot of companies do this. Other companies are like, wow, oh yeah, we should do that, because for inside salespeople, there's a lot that can't be seen on a resume. And the charisma, who walks up and introduces themselves, who asks the right questions, who, dresses the part, even if it is inside sales, a lot of the stuff, like on this, you wear a certain outfit. For a job or doing a webcam, and anyway, so a lot of those things can come, and if you're hiring multiple people, phone screens can be a huge time suck. And so doing those all in a 2-hour period after hours and bringing back the best people to then do the latter part of the interview process is a really great best practice.
That's good. The phone, if you're not doing a phone interview, phone screen, you need to start just to hear the energy and the tone and the quality in their voice.
Yep.
So, all right, let's switch gears a little bit. Given the rapid growth of inside sales, whether it's an account executive, a hunter, a sales development role, all under the inside sales umbrella, leaders have been almost forced into hiring less experienced folks. In fact, some are just getting interns in college and converting them to employees upon graduation. What are you seeing out there with the sort of the balance and the risk reward of hiring more experience versus less experience? Can you talk to the viewers about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think it depends on two things, the leader and the product that they're selling. So the more experienced and bought in the leader is to training and development, and the easier the product is to sell, the more junior rep you can hire. If you're the kind of leader that, Ralph Barcy, for example, we all know him and AA-ISP, he prides himself on being a leader that people want to work for and markets himself as somebody that's going to train you and show you the way. And so I think that Ralph can hire and see the DNA in candidates and really bring those people, regardless of what it is that they're representing. Some leaders, while they can train people, they want to know that they have a proven entity that's growing, that's running their organization through past sales success metrics, and that's okay too. So I think that what you should ask yourself is, what kind of leader am I? Do I want to homegrown my people and train them from out of college, or do I want somebody who's been proven and successful in another sales organization and just plug and play? Obviously. And then if you're selling to, my first job out of college was selling yellow page ads to small businesses. It's not as complex of a sale as selling, $1 million deals to Fortune 1000 companies. So obviously there's a huge spectrum in between small business deals of, 5 to 10K to multi-million dollar deals, but figure out where you are on the spectrum and how complex the deal is, and then that will also help answer the question of how much experience you need for your organization.
Great, good thoughts, especially focus on the leader. I hadn't heard that before. As we wind down the interview today, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions about sourcing. Now, you're a recruiting firm, right? So you help a lot of companies. So some companies will look to you to help them recruit. So share with the viewers maybe when some ideas around sourcing if they're not using a recruiting firm, and then talk to us a little bit about when you think they should be using a recruiting firm.
Yep. So if you're not using a recruiting firm, I would use a multi-pronged approach. So between posting online, I think LinkedIn is the best place to try posting first, or some type of sales-specific entity. I know AA-ISP has a job board, Sales Hacker. Some of those sales-specific sites have their own job board where you can post jobs. So that's a good place to find candidates that have domain experience. I would also definitely tap my network. So, post on LinkedIn, Facebook, any other, Twitter, any other social media site that you're leveraging. Also, if you have a team of salespeople that already work there, leverage those people. Put some type of a spiff in place to incentivize people to recommend their former colleagues or people that they might have gone to college with or played sports with, and people that they say, hey, I think this person would be awesome on our team. So between those three different things, or for leveraging your team, getting the word out there via postings and then on social media, vetting out the candidates from there, and then putting them through the process. That's the best way to get talent in the door.
Great.
And then what was that? It was about leveraging.
Oh, no, yeah. When, in what circumstance do you think companies ought to consider a recruiting firm, to use a recruiter, external recruiter, when they have a need, right? Are there any triggers or things they should consider?
There's two things to consider. I think that, all of those things that I just listed are great ways to find candidates. And, we also do a lot of more proactive sourcing as well. It comes down to time. As the sales leader, do you feel that your time is being sucked away from your team to recruit? And is that negatively impacting revenue and the work that you can put in with your existing people? That's one thing. The other thing is that if you don't have a pipeline of candidates that you think are going to be a good fit for the job, you feel like you've reached out to your network, you've done the spiff for your team, posted on a few sites, then we can obviously come in, supply immediate pipeline for multiple different roles across your organization. So between pipeline and time, there's other things as well, but I would say those are the two main things to look at.
Great. That's very helpful. I know I speak with a lot of inside sales leaders every day, and this challenge is not getting any easier. So first of all, I want to thank you, Carolyn, for sharing your expertise. You had some great tips in there. But if any of the viewers want to reach out to you to further this discussion or talk to you about other recruiting needs, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Well, there's two. Email is good. My email is carolyn@bettsrecruiting.com. And they can also reach out to me directly on my cell phone if they wanted to shoot me a text. Text is awesome. And my number is 415-265-1240.
Okay, we'll make sure that we put that up on the screen here to share with our viewers. Once again, I want to thank you, Carolyn. It's fantastic sharing your expertise. Also, you've been a big supporter of the community, the AA-ISP member community, and we want to thank you for that. This is Bob Perkins signing off from Inside Sales Studio. Everyone have a fantastic week. Bye-bye.